The rain fell mercilessly on the streets of Newark, New Jersey, turning the sidewalks into dark mirrors reflecting the neon lights of the still open establishments. It was one of those bone-chilling March nights, when the wind blew strongly from the Passaic River, carrying with it the smell of metal and dampness. Meredith Cole hugged her 4-year-old daughter tightly to her chest, trying to shield her from the storm with her thin, tattered coat. Her hands trembled. She didn't know if it was from the cold or the fear that had haunted her for weeks. Lily murmured something in restless sleep, her blonde curls stuck to her forehead, sweaty from the fever that had started that morning. "Hold on tight, my love," Meredith whispered, her voice almost swallowed by the sound of the rain. "Mommy will find a warm place." She walked for 3 blocks past closed shop windows and dark alleys until she spotted an abandoned laundromat on the corner of Mulberry Street. The glass door was cracked, and part of the letters from the old sign had fallen off, leaving only L.A. and Rye hanging pathetically. Meredith looked around. No one on the street. Only the sound of the rain and, in the distance, sirens that seemed never to stop in that part of town. With a nudge on the shoulder, she forced the door open, which creaked in protest, but opened just enough for her and Lily to get inside. The interior smelled of mildew and old detergent. Broken washing machines lined the wall, and the linoleum floor was covered in a thin layer of dust and debris. But it was dry, and the wind wasn't blowing too hard. "This is where we're going to sleep tonight, my love," Meredith said, more to herself than to Lily, who had already gone back to sleep. She found a corner in the back away from the door, where 3 machines created a kind of shield. She sat on the cold floor, leaning her back against the damp wall, and settled Lily in her lap. She took off her coat, the only one she owned, and carefully covered the girl, leaving only her thin sweater for protection. The tears came without warning. Meredith let them flow silently as she stroked her daughter's hair. How had she gotten to this point? 6 months ago she had a job as a waitress, a small apartment, and hope. Then her ex-boyfriend, Derek, showed up. Promises of reconciliation quickly turned into aggression, threats, and when she finally mustered the courage to report him, she discovered he had connections. She lost her job. She lost her apartment when she couldn't pay the rent, and Derek disappeared, leaving only fear behind. "I promised I would protect you," she whispered to Lily, "and I will keep my promise no matter what happens." Sleep was beginning to overcome her when she heard the noise. Footsteps, heavy, rhythmic, approaching the laundry room. Meredith froze, her heart racing. She hugged Lily tightly, searching with her eyes for somewhere to hide, but it was too late. The door slammed open with a loud creak, and a male figure entered, shaking rainwater from his black overcoat. He was tall, with broad shoulders that filled the doorway. Even in the dim light, Meredith could see that his clothes were expensive, a stark contrast to the desolate place. "Shit," the man muttered, pulling his phone from his pocket. The light from the screen illuminated his face for a moment. A strong jaw, dark hair combed back, and a thin scar that cut across his left eyebrow. He looked to be between 35 and 40 years old. Meredith held her breath, trying to become invisible in the dark corner. But then she saw something that made her heart clench. In the man's arms, wrapped in a luxurious blanket, was a little girl. She also looked to be about 4 years old, with brown hair in perfect curls, and a pink dress that certainly cost more than Meredith earned in an entire month. The man spoke softly on the phone, his deep voice carrying a tone of authority and irritation. "I don't care who you need to wake up, Marco. Find a safe place now. The house is compromised." "No, she can't know. 15 minutes. No more." He hung up and looked at the girl in his arms, his expression softening for a brief moment. That's when his eyes scanned the room and landed directly on Meredith. She saw the exact moment he noticed her. His eyes narrowed, and his free hand moved automatically inside his coat, probably toward a weapon. Meredith thought with terror. "Please," she whispered, her voice cracked. "We're not going to do anything. We just need a place to spend the night. Please don't hurt us." The man stood motionless, studying her. His eyes moved from Meredith to Lily, who was beginning to stir, waking up to the voices. "Mommy," Lily murmured, rubbing her eyes. "I'm cold." At that moment, the little girl in the man's arms also woke up, lifting her sleepy head. "Dad? Where are we? Dad?" The word echoed in Meredith's mind. That dangerous man, dressed as if he could buy the whole city, was a father, just like her. "Shh, Sophia. Go back to sleep," he said softly, but his eyes remained fixed on Meredith. Lily had turned over in her mother's lap and was now looking at the other girl curiously. "Mommy, look. She has a really warm blanket." Sophia looked at Lily too, and something magical happened. Something only children can do. They smiled at each other. "Are you cold?" Sophia asked with the typical innocence of a 4-year-old. Lily nodded shyly. The man remained standing, observing the scene with an expression that Meredith couldn't decipher. He glanced at his expensive watch, then at the door, as if expecting someone to arrive at any moment. "Sophia, be quiet," he ordered, but his voice had lost some of its harshness. Meredith felt Lily tremble in her arms. The fever was worsening. She needed medicine, a warm place, a doctor, but she had nothing. Nothing but a mother's love and the determination to keep her daughter alive. "She's sick," Meredith said suddenly, finding a courage she didn't know she still possessed. "My daughter, she has a fever. I just need to keep her warm until morning. Then we'll leave. I swear." The man frowned, and for the first time something beyond suspicion crossed his face. He took 2 steps toward them, and Meredith instinctively recoiled, pressing her back against the wall. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said, and there was a strange sincerity in his voice. "But you chose the wrong place to hide." "I had no choice," Meredith retorted, tears threatening to fall again. "Do you think I wanted to be here? That I wanted my daughter to sleep on the dirty floor of an abandoned laundromat? I have nothing left." The silence that followed was broken only by the rain outside and the muffled sound of sirens in the distance. Sophia stared wide-eyed between her father and Lily, while Lily snuggled closer into Meredith's lap. The man sighed heavily, running his free hand through his hair. "How long have you been on the street?" 3 weeks, Meredith admitted, her voice weak. He cursed under his breath and looked at his phone again, visibly frustrated that something or someone wasn't arriving. That's when it happened. Lily began to cough, a dry, painful cough that made Sophia jump in her father's lap. Meredith tried to soothe her, rubbing her back, but the cough only worsened. Suddenly, Lily was gasping for air, struggling to breathe, her lips beginning to turn blue. "Lily! Lily, breathe, my love!" Meredith panicked, quickly standing up and holding her daughter, desperately trying to help her. The man reacted instantly. In 3 long strides, he was beside them, carefully placing Sophia on the ground. "Sophia, stay there," he ordered before turning to Meredith. "Let me see." "She can't breathe," Meredith screamed, tears now streaming freely. He took Lily from Meredith's arms with surprisingly gentle firmness, laying the girl on the ground and tilting her head back, opening her airway. His movements were precise, practical. Someone who knew what he was doing. "Does she have asthma?" he asked quickly. I don't know. It's never happened before." He checked Lily's pulse, then put his ear close to her mouth. "She's breathing, but it's obstructed. It's probably croup. The fever and the cold air made it worse." Meredith didn't know how he knew that, but she didn't question it. She just watched, powerless, as that stranger, that dangerous man, worked to save her daughter. He picked up his phone again. "Marco, change of plans. I need you here now. Bring the private ambulance. We have a medical emergency." "No, it's not Sophia. Just come." Meredith fell to her knees beside them. "Is she going to be okay? Please tell me she's going to be okay." Lily had stopped coughing and was now breathing in short, rapid gasps. Her eyes were closed, but she was conscious. "She'll stay," he said, with a certainty that Meredith desperately wanted to believe. "But she needs treatment. Now." Sophia approached shyly, holding the blanket she had been wrapped in moments before. With a gesture that broke Meredith's heart, the little girl extended the blanket to Lily. "So she doesn't get cold," Sophia said softly. The man looked at his daughter, and something in his expression changed, as if he were seeing something for the first time. Meredith picked up the blanket with trembling hands and covered Lily with it. The fabric was soft, warm, probably pure cashmere. Lily sighed softly, her body relaxing slightly in the warmth. "Thank you," Meredith whispered to Sophia, then looked at the man. "Thank you." He didn't answer but nodded briefly. Then his phone rang. "Is he here already?" he answered. "Good. Bring a stretcher. And total discretion, Marco. Nobody can know." He hung up and looked at Meredith with an intensity she couldn't interpret. "We're going to take her to a private hospital, a place where they ask minimal questions. You're coming with us." It wasn't an invitation. It was an order. Meredith should have been afraid. She should have questioned who this man was, why he needed discretion, why he had a private ambulance. But when she looked at Lily, pale and frail on the cold laundry room floor, covered by a blanket that cost more than she would earn in a year, Meredith did the only thing she could do. She agreed. Minutes later, Two men in black suits entered the laundry room with a collapsible stretcher and medical equipment. They asked no questions, didn't look Meredith in the eye. They simply worked in efficient silence, placing an oxygen mask on Lily and monitoring her vital signs. When they lifted the stretcher, Meredith followed automatically but stopped when she felt a hand on her shoulder. The man was there, holding Sophia with one arm. "This changes everything," he said softly, almost to himself. Meredith didn't understand what he meant. Not yet. But as she climbed into the luxurious ambulance holding her daughter's cold hand, watching that mysterious stranger get in behind her with her own daughter, Meredith Cole had no idea that that night, the worst night of her life, was about to become the turning point that would change everything. Forever. The private ambulance moved through Newark's rain-soaked streets with practiced ease. Its sirens silent but its presence commanding. Inside, the atmosphere was tense, filled only with the steady beep of medical equipment monitoring Lily's vitals and the soft hum of the oxygen machine. Meredith sat on the bench beside her daughter's stretcher, her hand never leaving Lily's small, clammy fingers. The paramedic, a middle-aged man with kind eyes and steady hands, worked efficiently, adjusting the oxygen mask and checking temperature readings every few minutes. Across from her, the mysterious man sat with Sophia sleeping peacefully in his lap, wrapped in a thick blanket one of his men had produced. He stared out the tinted window, his jaw tight, his fingers drumming an anxious rhythm on his knee. For someone who seemed so powerful, so in control, he looked almost vulnerable. "Her oxygen levels are stabilizing," the paramedic announced quietly. "The nebulizer treatment is working. She should be okay, but we need to get her properly examined." Meredith let out a breath she didn't realize she'd been holding. "Thank you. Thank God." The man's eyes shifted to her for the first time since they'd entered the ambulance. When was the last time she ate? The question was direct, almost clinical. Meredith felt shame burn through her chest. "Yesterday morning, a woman at a shelter gave us some oatmeal." His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his dark eyes. "And you?" "I'm fine. That's not what I asked." Meredith swallowed hard. 2 days ago. The silence that followed was deafening. The man pulled out his phone and typed something quickly, then returned his attention to the window. 10 minutes later, the ambulance pulled into an underground garage beneath a building Meredith didn't recognize. The area was pristine, well-lit, and clearly private. Security cameras tracked their movements from every angle. "Where are we?" Meredith asked, tension creeping back into her voice. "St. Catherine's Private Medical Center," the man replied, standing carefully so as not to wake Sophia. "It's discreet. The staff knows not to ask questions or involve authorities unless absolutely necessary." The implication hung heavy in the air. This was a place where powerful people who couldn't afford public scrutiny, came for treatment. 2 nurses and a doctor were already waiting when the ambulance doors opened. They moved with the same efficient silence as everyone else who worked for this man, transferring Lily to a proper gurney and wheeling her toward a private elevator. "Wait," Meredith called out, rushing after them. "I need to stay with her." A hand caught her arm, gentle but firm. The man. "They're going to take care of her. You have my word. But you need to let them work. She's 4 years old. She'll be terrified if she wakes up and I'm not there." His grip loosened, and for a moment something almost like understanding crossed his face. He turned to one of the nurses. "Take the mother with you. She stays with the child at all times." The nurse nodded and gestured for Meredith to follow. She did, but not before glancing back at the man holding his sleeping daughter. Their eyes met for just a second. 2 parents, worlds apart, yet somehow connected by this strange night. The examination room was nothing like the cold, sterile public hospital rooms Meredith had seen before. This one had warm lighting, comfortable furniture, and walls painted a soothing cream color. A large window overlooked the city, though at this hour, all that was visible was rain streaming down the glass and the blurred lights of Newark below. Lily was placed on a bed that looked more like something from a luxury hotel than a hospital. The doctor, a woman in her 50s with silver-streaked hair and a calm demeanor, introduced herself as Dr. Patricia Moss. "She has viral croup, complicated by exposure and mild dehydration," Dr. Moss explained after her examination. "Nothing life-threatening, but she needs fluids, rest, and warmth. I'm going to keep her on oxygen for a few more hours and start an IV drip. She should be significantly better by morning." Meredith felt her knees weaken with relief. Thank you so much." Dr. Moss studied her with knowing eyes. "When was your last meal, miss?" "Cole, Meredith Cole. And I'm fine, really. I just need to make sure Lily..." Is taken care of, I understand. But a sick child needs a healthy mother. Dr. Moss pressed a button on the wall. I'm having food brought up. You'll eat, or I'll put you on an IV too. Your choice. There was no arguing with that tone. Meredith nodded weakly. Within minutes, a tray arrived. Not hospital food, but real food. Grilled chicken, roasted vegetables, fresh bread, and soup that smelled like heaven. Meredith's stomach twisted painfully at the sight. Eat slowly, Dr. Moss warned. Your system isn't used to this much food at once. Meredith forced herself to take small bites, even though every cell in her body screamed to devour everything on the plate. As she ate, she watched Lily sleep peacefully, her chest rising and falling in steady rhythm, her color already returning. A soft knock on the door made her look up. The man entered, now without Sophia. He'd removed his wet overcoat, revealing an expensive black suit that fit him perfectly. Even in the warm light of the hospital room, he looked dangerous, like a predator dressed in civilized clothing. Where's your daughter? Meredith asked. Sleeping in the next room. One of my men is watching her. He moved to the window, keeping his distance from Meredith but close enough to see Lily. Dr. Moss says your daughter will recover. Yes, thanks to you. Meredith set down her fork, her appetite suddenly gone despite her hunger. I don't even know your name. He turned from the window, and for the first time she saw him clearly in good lighting. He was handsome in a hard, angular way, the kind of man who'd seen violence and darkness and carried it in the lines of his face. The scar through his eyebrow was just one of several small marks that told stories he'd never share. Vincent, he said finally. Vincent Moretti. The name hit Meredith like a physical blow. Even someone who'd been living on the streets for 3 weeks knew that name. Vincent Moretti, the most powerful crime boss in northern New Jersey. The man they whispered about in corners. The man police couldn't touch. The man responsible for controlling everything from the docks to the political offices downtown. And she'd just gotten into a vehicle with him. Her daughter's life was in his hands. Meredith must have gone pale because Vincent's expression hardened. You know who I am? It wasn't a question. Everyone knows who you are, she whispered. And now you're afraid. He said it matter-of-factly without emotion. Should I be? Vincent walked closer, pulling a chair to sit across from her. Close enough to talk quietly, but far enough to not be threatening. Up close, Meredith could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. 3 hours ago, I received a tip that someone had betrayed me. Someone close. Someone in my own organization sold information to a rival family. Information about where I live, where my daughter sleeps, where she goes to school. His voice was low, controlled, but underneath it was a rage that made Meredith's blood run cold. I had 15 minutes to get Sophia out before they came for her. 15 minutes to save my daughter's life. Meredith's hand instinctively moved to Lily's arm, as if to protect her even in sleep. I grabbed her from her bed and ran, Vincent continued. No security detail, no backup plan, just me and Sophia. I was supposed to meet my men at a safe house, but the routes were compromised. So I ducked into that laundry place to wait. He paused, his eyes distant. And I found you. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know why your life is about to change. Meredith's breath caught. What do you mean? Vincent leaned forward, his forearms resting on his knees, his hands clasped together. When I saw you tonight, a mother with nothing, sleeping on a filthy floor to keep her daughter warm, something broke in me. Then Sophia gave her blanket to your daughter. A child who has everything giving to a child who has nothing. No hesitation, just kindness. His voice cracked slightly on the last word. My daughter has been raised with guards, with walls, with fear, he continued. She's 4 years old and already knows that danger is always lurking. She knows people want to hurt her because of who I am. But tonight she saw another child suffering and wanted to help. That's not something I taught her. That's something pure. Something I thought I'd destroyed by bringing her into my world. Meredith didn't know what to say. This man, this monster, by reputation, was speaking about his daughter with a tenderness that contradicted everything she'd heard about him. I need to find who betrayed me, Vincent said, his voice hardening again. And when I do, they'll regret being born. But that takes time. And while I handle my business, Sophia needs to be somewhere safe, somewhere they'd never think to look. Understanding dawned on Meredith slowly, like cold water seeping into her clothes. You want me to watch her? No. Vincent stood, walking back to the window. Rain still poured outside, and distant lightning illuminated his profile. I want to offer you something better. A job, a home, protection. In exchange, you and your daughter become part of Sophia's life. She needs someone like Lily. Someone who doesn't know or care about power and money. Someone real. Meredith's mind reeled. You want me to work for you? For the mob? I want you to help raise my daughter, Vincent corrected sharply. Not run drugs or handle guns. Just be there for Sophia. Be the normal influence she desperately needs. And in return, you'll have everything you need: medical care, food, shelter, education for Lily. Safety. Safety from everyone except you. Meredith shot back before she could stop herself. Vincent turned, and for a moment, she thought she'd gone too far. But instead of anger, she saw something almost like respect in his eyes. I've done terrible things, Meredith. I won't insult your intelligence by denying it. But I've never hurt a child, and I've never hurt a woman who didn't try to kill me first. You and your daughter will be safe in my home. Safer than you've been in months. He walked to the door but paused with his hand on the handle. Think about it tonight. Tomorrow morning I'll need your answer. If you say no, I'll arrange for you to be placed in a legitimate shelter with resources to get back on your feet. If you say yes. He looked at Lily, sleeping peacefully, then back at Meredith. Your life will never be the same, but neither will hers. Then he was gone, leaving Meredith alone with her thoughts, her sleeping daughter, and a decision that would alter the course of their entire existence. She looked at Lily, her beautiful, innocent baby girl, who deserved so much more than sleeping on cold floors and going hungry. Then she looked down at her own hands, still trembling slightly from exhaustion and fear. Vincent Moretti was offering her a devil's bargain: protection and comfort in exchange for entering his world, a world of violence, secrets, and constant danger. But as Meredith stared out at the rain-soaked city, at the harsh reality waiting for them beyond this warm room, she realized something crushing. The devil she knew was starting to look better than the hell she'd been living in, and that terrified her more than anything. Morning arrived with reluctant gray light filtering through the hospital room window. Meredith hadn't slept. She'd spent the entire night watching Lily breathe, counting each rise and fall of her daughter's chest, and wrestling with the impossible decision Vincent Moretti had placed before her. By dawn, Lily's color had returned completely. The IV drip had done its work, and when she finally opened her eyes, they were clear and bright, more alive than Meredith had seen them in weeks. Mommy? Lily's voice was hoarse but strong. Where are we? Meredith rushed to her side, pressing a kiss to her forehead. We're safe, baby. You got sick last night, but the doctors made you all better. Lily looked around the room with wide eyes, taking in the comfortable bed, the soft blankets, the tray of untouched breakfast that had been delivered an hour ago. Pancakes, eggs, fresh fruit, and juice. Is this heaven? Lily asked seriously. The question broke Meredith's heart. Her 4-year-old daughter thought comfort was something that only existed in the afterlife. No, sweetheart, this is something different. Meredith helped Lily sit up carefully. Are you hungry? Lily nodded enthusiastically, and Meredith cut the pancakes into small pieces, watching with both joy and sadness as her daughter ate like she'd never seen food before, because in many ways, she hadn't. Not food like this. Dr. Moss arrived shortly after, conducting a final examination and declaring Lily fit to be discharged. She needs to rest for a few days and take these medications, the doctor said, handing Meredith a bag containing prescription bottles and detailed instructions. Bring her back if the cough returns or if she develops a fever above 101. How much do I owe? Meredith asked, though she knew she couldn't afford even a fraction of what this night must have cost. Dr. Moss smiled gently. Mr. Moretti has taken care of everything. Your account is settled. Of course he had, because that's what powerful men did. They created debt that couldn't be repaid with money. A knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. A woman entered, tall, elegant, probably in her early 60s, with silver hair pulled back in a neat bun and intelligent gray eyes that seemed to see everything at once. She wore a tailored navy dress and carried herself with the kind of quiet authority that came from years of managing important affairs. Miss Cole, I'm Eleanor Hartwell. I manage Mr. Moretti's household. Her voice was crisp, professional, with just a hint of a Boston accent. Mr. Moretti has asked me to escort you and your daughter should you accept his offer. Meredith's stomach twisted. I haven't decided yet. Eleanor's expression didn't change. Of course. However, Mr. Moretti anticipated you might need more information before making such a significant decision. He's asked me to show you what accepting would entail. No obligation. Simply clarity. Meredith looked at Lily, who was finishing her juice and looking more energetic than she had in weeks. What did she have to lose by at least seeing what Vincent was offering? They had nowhere else to go. "All right," Meredith said quietly. "Show me." The car that waited for them in the underground garage was a black SUV with windows so tinted they seemed to absorb light. 2 men in dark suits stood beside it, the same silent, efficient men from last night. They opened the doors without a word, and Meredith climbed in with Lily, Eleanor sliding in beside them with practiced grace. As they pulled out onto the street, Meredith watched Newark pass by, the neighborhoods she'd walked through for weeks, the shelters that had turned her away, the alleys where she'd hidden from Derek's searching eyes. All of it looked different in daylight, less threatening but somehow more hopeless. "Where's Sophia?" Lily asked suddenly, pressing her face against the window. "You remember her?" Meredith was surprised. "She gave me her blanket, it was really soft." Lily looked at Eleanor. "Is she your grandma?" Eleanor's lips twitched in what might have been amusement. "No, dear. I work for Sophia's father. You'll see her soon if your mother decides you'll be staying with us." "Staying where?" "You'll see." They drove for 30 minutes, leaving Newark behind and heading west into the countryside. The urban sprawl gradually gave way to rolling hills, dense woods, and estates hidden behind stone walls and iron gates. This was where New Jersey's wealthy elite lived, far from the crime and poverty of the cities in their own protected world. Finally, they turned onto a private road marked only by a small brass plaque that read, "Moretti Estate, Private Property." The SUV climbed up a winding driveway lined with old oak trees, their branches creating a natural tunnel that blocked out the morning light. Then the trees opened up, and Meredith's breath caught. The mansion before them was enormous, a 3-story Italian Renaissance revival with cream-colored stone arched windows and a red-tiled roof. Manicured gardens stretched in every direction, and a fountain featuring marble horses dominated the circular driveway. It looked like something from a movie, not real life. "This is where Sophia lives?" Lily whispered, her eyes huge. "This is where you would live," Eleanor corrected gently. "If your mother says yes." The SUV stopped at the main entrance where white columns flanked massive wooden doors. As they stepped out, Meredith noticed security cameras positioned discreetly around the property and men in suits patrolling the grounds. Beautiful, but a fortress nonetheless. Eleanor led them inside, and if Meredith thought the exterior was impressive, the interior was overwhelming. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, curved staircases with wrought iron railings, and artwork that probably cost more than most people made in a lifetime. Everything was pristine, elegant, and cold. "The main house has 23 rooms," Eleanor explained as they walked through a grand foyer. "Mr. Moretti's private quarters are in the east wing. Sophia's room is in the west wing, near what would be your suite." "My suite?" Meredith echoed. Eleanor opened a door off a long hallway, revealing a space that made Meredith want to cry. It wasn't just a room, it was an entire apartment. A large bedroom with a king-sized bed, a separate bedroom for Lily decorated in soft yellows and whites, a private bathroom with a soaking tub, and a sitting area with comfortable furniture and a television. "This would be yours," Eleanor said simply. "Mr. Moretti believes you and Lily should have your own space, your own privacy. You're not servants, you're—" She paused, choosing her words carefully. "Guests who happen to have responsibilities." Lily had already run to her potential bedroom, squealing with delight at the toys arranged on shelves, the books, the stuffed animals on the bed. Meredith stood frozen in the doorway, unable to process what she was seeing. Why? The word came out broken. Why would he do this for complete strangers? Eleanor studied her with those sharp gray eyes. "You'll have to ask him that yourself. But I've worked for Vincent Moretti for 15 years and I've learned one thing. He doesn't do anything without a reason. Sometimes that reason is business. Sometimes it's strategy. And sometimes," she glanced at where Lily was playing, "sometimes it's because he's still human despite what the world thinks." Before Meredith could respond, the sound of running feet echoed in the hallway. Sophia burst through the door, wearing a pink dress and light-up sneakers, her face bright with excitement. "Lily, you're here." She ran straight to the other bedroom. "Do you like it? Papa said if your mommy says yes, you're going to live here and we can play every day." Behind her, moving more slowly, came Vincent Moretti. He'd changed from his suit into dark jeans and a black Henley that somehow made him look even more dangerous. His hair was damp like he'd recently showered, and there was a fresh cut on his knuckles that hadn't been there last night. His eyes met Meredith's, and she saw exhaustion there, and something darker. Whatever he'd been doing since last night, it hadn't been pleasant. "Mr. Moretti," Eleanor acknowledged him with a slight nod. "I've given Miss Cole the initial tour, Perhaps you'd like to speak with her privately? Thank you, Eleanor. Would you mind taking the girls to the kitchen? Maria made fresh cookies. Sophia didn't need to be asked twice. She grabbed Lily's hand and pulled her toward the door, chattering excitedly about all the places she wanted to show her. Lily looked back at Meredith with uncertainty, but Meredith nodded encouragingly. Eleanor followed the girls out, closing the door behind her, and then Meredith was alone with Vincent Moretti in what might become her bedroom, in his house, in a world she didn't understand. Did you find him? Meredith asked before Vincent could speak. The person who betrayed you? Vincent's expression went cold. Yes. And it's handled. You don't need to know the details. The cut on his knuckles told her enough. Meredith wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly feeling very small in this enormous room. I can't do this, she said quietly. I appreciate everything you've done, saving Lily, paying for the hospital, showing me all this. But I can't bring my daughter into your world. It's not safe. It's not right. What's the alternative? Vincent stepped closer, not threatening but direct. Go back to the streets? To shelters that turn you away? To wondering every night if your daughter will survive until morning? There are other options. Social services, assistance programs, that will take months to process. And in the meantime, where will you be? You have no address, no job, no references. Derek is still out there looking for you. Yes, I know about him. I had my people run a background check last night. He's a dealer with connections to some very unpleasant people. Did you really think you could hide from him forever without protection? Meredith felt tears sting her eyes. How dare you investigate me without permission? I dare because I need to know who I'm bringing into my home near my daughter. And what I found is a woman who worked 2 jobs to support her child, who left an abusive relationship despite having nowhere to go, who chose homelessness over letting her daughter grow up around violence. Vincent's voice softened slightly. You're stronger than you think, Meredith. But strength alone won't protect Lily. I can. At what cost? Your presence, your time, your willingness to let Sophia have something resembling a normal friendship. That's all I'm asking. You're asking me to live in a crime lord's mansion and pretend everything is normal. I'm asking you to give your daughter a chance at life. Vincent's control cracked slightly, his voice rising. Then he stopped, taking a breath, forcing himself calm. I know what I am. I know what people say about me. Most of it is true. But Sophia is innocent. She didn't choose this life, this name, this legacy of blood and fear. I'm trying to give her something better. And maybe, he looked away, vulnerability flickering across his face. Maybe helping you helps me remember there's still something worth protecting in this world. The silence stretched between them, heavy with everything unsaid. From somewhere in the house, Meredith could hear Lily's laughter. Pure, joyful, unafraid. When was the last time she'd heard her daughter laugh like that? If I say yes, Meredith said slowly, I need guarantees. Lily's safety comes first. Always. If I ever think she's in danger because of your business, we leave. No arguments. Agreed. And I'm not your employee. I'm not one of your soldiers or whatever you call them. I won't take orders about how to raise my daughter or live my life. The only thing I ask is that you be there for Sophia. How you do that is up to you. And when the police come asking questions, when your enemies find out we're here, Vincent's expression hardened. The police know better than to come here without cause. And my enemies. The dangerous man from the laundry returned to his eyes. Anyone who threatens what's mine learns very quickly why that was a mistake. You and Lily will be protected. You have my word. The word of a criminal. The promise of a man who'd probably killed people, but also the vow of a father who'd run into the night with his daughter in his arms, who'd stop to help a dying child even when his own was at risk. Meredith looked around the beautiful room, thought about Lily having her own space, warm meals, medical care, safety from Derek and the streets. She thought about the alternative, going back out there with nothing, watching her daughter slowly break under the weight of a life no child should endure. And she thought about Sophia's small hand reaching out with a blanket, about innocent kindness in a dark place. 1 month, Meredith said finally. Give me 1 month to see if this can work. If it doesn't, you help me get set up somewhere safe and we part ways. No strings. Vincent extended his hand. 1 month. Meredith stared at his hand. Strong, scarred, stained with violence she'd never fully understand. This was the moment. The choice that would define everything that came after. She reached out and shook it. His grip was firm, warm, and surprisingly gentle. Welcome home, Meredith. But as he said it, Meredith couldn't shake the feeling that she'd just made a deal with the devil himself, and there was no going back. The first week in the Moretti mansion passed in a blur of adjustment and disbelief. Meredith woke each morning in the enormous bed, momentarily forgetting where she was, half expecting to feel cold concrete beneath her instead of Egyptian cotton sheets. Then reality would settle in. The soft morning light through silk curtains, the sound of Lily giggling in the next room, the smell of fresh coffee drifting up from the kitchen below. It felt like living in someone else's dream. Eleanor ran the household with military precision. She'd provided Meredith and Lily with new clothes, simple, quality pieces that fit perfectly, because Eleanor had somehow estimated their sizes with uncanny accuracy. She'd established a routine: breakfast at 8, Sophia's homeschooling lessons at 9, which Lily was now invited to join, lunch at noon, afternoon activities, dinner at 6. Structure, normalcy, things Meredith hadn't been able to give her daughter in months. Vincent was largely absent those first days. Meredith would catch glimpses of him, leaving early in dark suits, returning late with tired eyes and that dangerous energy coiled tight beneath his composed exterior. He'd stop by Sophia's room each night to kiss her goodnight, but otherwise he was a ghost in his own home. Until the 8th day. Meredith was in the library, a 2-story room lined with more books than she'd ever seen outside a public library, reading to both girls when Vincent appeared in the doorway. It was mid-afternoon, and his presence at this hour was unusual. "Sophia, Eleanor is looking for you in the music room. Piano practice." Sophia groaned dramatically but obeyed, scrambling off the couch. "Come on, Lily. You can watch me play." Lily looked at Meredith for permission, and she nodded. The two girls ran off, their footsteps echoing down the marble hallway. Then it was just Vincent and Meredith, the silence stretching uncomfortable between them. "You've been avoiding me," Meredith said, closing the book. "I've been giving you space to settle in." Vincent stepped into the room, his hands in his pockets. He looked different today, more relaxed somehow, though that coiled tension never quite left him. "Has Eleanor taken care of everything you need?" "She's been wonderful. Almost too wonderful. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop." "What shoe would that be?" Meredith stood, meeting his eyes directly. "The part where you tell me what you really expect from me. Because men like you don't do charity, Mr. Moretti." There's always an angle. Something flickered in his expression. Surprise, maybe, or respect. "You're right. I don't do charity." He moved to one of the tall windows overlooking the gardens where the girls were now visible, heading toward another wing of the mansion. "But this isn't charity. It's an investment." "In what?" "In giving my daughter something I never had. A real childhood. A real friend who doesn't know or care about power and money and fear." He turned back to face her. "Sophia's entire life has been shadowed by who I am. She can't go to normal schools. She can't have playdates with random children. Every person in her life is vetted, watched, assessed for threat level. She's 4 years old and already knows that people might try to hurt her to get to me." The pain in his voice was real, raw. Meredith felt her anger softening despite herself. "But Lily," Vincent continued, "Lily doesn't know any of that. She just sees another little girl, and when Sophia is with her, she forgets for a moment that she's different. That's worth more to me than you can possibly understand. So we're just, what? Entertainment for your daughter? You're giving her something precious: normalcy, innocence, the chance to just be a kid." He paused. "And in return, I'm giving you and Lily safety, security, and opportunities. It's not charity. It's exchange. Both sides benefit." Meredith wanted to argue, to find fault in his logic, but she couldn't, because he was right. Lily was thriving here. She'd gained weight. Her eyes were bright. She laughed constantly, and Sophia was gentle with her, patient, sharing everything without the bratty entitlement Meredith had expected from a mob boss's daughter. "There's something else," Vincent said, his tone shifting to business. "I need you to understand the rules of this house, for your safety and Lily's." "What rules?" "First, you and Lily stay on the property unless I approve otherwise. The grounds are secure, but outside these walls, you're vulnerable. Derek is still looking for you, and now you're connected to me. That makes you a potential target." Meredith's blood went cold. "I didn't think about that." "I did, which is why you don't leave without security. Second, if you see or hear anything related to my business, meetings, conversations, people coming and going, you forget it immediately. You saw nothing, heard nothing, know nothing. Your ignorance is your protection. And if someone asks me questions, police, FBI, you refer them to my lawyers and say nothing. Ever, not even to defend me. especially not to defend me. His eyes were hard now, all warmth gone. The less you know, the less danger you're in. What about Sophia? Does she know what you do? She knows I'm a businessman. She knows some people don't like me. She doesn't know details, and she won't until she's much older. Maybe never, if I can help it. Meredith crossed her arms. You can't protect her from the truth forever. I can try. Vincent moved toward the door, then stopped. There's one more thing. Tonight I'm having a dinner party. Business associates. You and Lily will eat in your room. Stay out of sight. Why? Because the people coming tonight are not people I want knowing about you yet. There, he searched for the right word. Complicated. And I need to control how information about you spreads through my organization. You mean you don't want them knowing you took in some homeless woman and her kid? I mean I don't want them seeing you as a weakness they can exploit. His voice was sharp. In my world, anything you care about becomes a target. I'm trying to keep you and Lily off that target list as long as possible. Before Meredith could respond, rapid footsteps approached. One of Vincent's men, Marco, she'd learned his name, appeared in the doorway, his expression urgent. Boss, we have a situation. The Calabrese family is here. They're at the gate. Vincent's entire demeanor changed in an instant. The father, the man attempting vulnerability, vanished. In his place stood the crime lord, cold, calculating, dangerous. How many? 3 cars, maybe 12 men. Tony Calabrese is demanding to speak with you, says it's about the shipment. The shipment was clean. We had an agreement. He's saying otherwise. Vincent's jaw tightened. Get Sophia and Lily to the safe room. Now. Eleanor knows the protocol. Wait, Meredith stepped forward. What's happening? Are we in danger? Probably not, Vincent said, already moving toward the door. But I don't take chances with children. Marco, take her to Eleanor. Make sure they're secure. Vincent, Meredith called after him using his first name for the first time. He stopped, looking back at her. Be careful. Something softened in his eyes for just a moment. Always am. Then he was gone, and Marco was gesturing urgently for her to follow. They moved quickly through the mansion, Meredith's heart pounding. They found Eleanor already with the girls in Sophia's room, calmly gathering them. Time for a game, girls, Eleanor said with forced cheerfulness. We're going to the special room. But I want to finish my song, Sophia protested. Later, darling. Right now, we need to. The sound of gunfire erupted from somewhere outside. Both girls screamed. Meredith's instincts took over. She grabbed Lily, pulling her close, while Eleanor did the same with Sophia. Marco had his gun drawn, speaking rapidly into a radio. Westgate breach. Multiple shooters. Boss, what's your status? Vincent's voice crackled back. Calm despite the chaos. I'm fine, get them to the safe room, lock it down, nobody in or out until I give the all clear. Marco led them through a hidden door in Sophia's closet, down a narrow staircase Meredith hadn't known existed. They emerged into a reinforced room that looked like something from a spy movie. Concrete walls, monitors showing security camera feeds, stockpiled supplies, and a heavy steel door. Inside, Marco ordered. Eleanor knows the drill. Eleanor ushered the girls in, Meredith following close behind. Through the monitors, she could see the front of the estate. 3 black SUVs had crashed through the gate. Men in suits were pouring out, guns drawn. Vincent's security team was already engaged, taking defensive positions behind the fountain and columns. And there, in the middle of it all, was Vincent himself, not hiding, not running, but standing in the open, a gun in his hand, facing down a heavy-set man with slicked-back hair and a cruel smile. Tony Calabrese, Meredith realized. This was the man who'd come for Vincent. The monitors had no audio, but she could see them arguing. Vincent's posture radiating controlled fury while Tony gestured wildly. Whatever they were saying, it wasn't friendly. Why are they fighting? Lily asked, her voice small and frightened. It's just business, sweetheart, Eleanor said, though her eyes never left the monitors. Mr. Moretti will handle it. Papa always handles it, Sophia said quietly, and the resignation in her voice broke Meredith's heart. This child was used to violence. It was normal to her. On the screen, the argument escalated. Tony shoved one of his men forward, a younger guy who looked terrified. Vincent questioned him, his body language aggressive. The young man shook his head frantically, denying something. Then Tony pulled his gun and shot his own man. Both girls screamed again. Meredith turned them away from the monitors, pressing their faces against her, trying to shield them from what they'd just witnessed. But Sophia had already seen. She'd gone pale, trembling. He killed Polly, Sophia whispered. Mr. Calabrese killed Polly. Don't look, baby, Eleanor said firmly, moving to block the monitors. Don't watch. But Meredith couldn't look away. On screen, Vincent had his gun pointed at Tony now, his face a mask of cold rage. His men had their weapons trained on the Calabrese crew. For a long moment nobody moved. A Mexican standoff in broad daylight. Then Tony lowered his gun. He said something, probably an excuse or an apology, and gestured for his men to get back in the cars. Slowly, carefully, they retreated. Vincent didn't lower his weapon until the last SUV had left the property. Only then did he turn toward the house, and for a brief moment his eyes found the camera that fed into the safe room. He nodded once, a signal that it was over. "We're clear," Marco's voice came through the intercom. "Boss says you can come out." Eleanor stood smoothing her dress, her composure returning as quickly as it had fractured. "Come along, girls, let's get you some cookies in the kitchen, shall we?" But neither girl moved. Sophia was crying silently, and Lily was clinging to Meredith like she might disappear. "Eleanor, take Sophia," Meredith said quietly. "I need to talk to Vincent." "Miss Cole, I don't think—" "Now, Eleanor." The older woman hesitated, then nodded, gently extracting Sophia and guiding her toward the kitchen. Marco followed, leaving Meredith alone with Lily in the safe room. "Mommy, I'm scared," Lily whimpered. "I know, baby. I know." Meredith held her daughter tight, rage and fear warring inside her. "But you're safe. I promise you're safe." But even as she said it, she knew it was a lie. They weren't safe. They were living in the middle of a war zone, and she'd been naive to think otherwise. Footsteps on the stairs announced Vincent's arrival. He appeared in the doorway, his suit jacket gone, his shirt sleeves rolled up and a fresh cut on his cheek. His eyes found Meredith's immediately. "Are they hurt? Physically?" "No. But they saw that man die, Vincent. They saw him murder his own person right in front of your house." Vincent's expression went carefully blank. "Tony Calabrese is a paranoid bastard who thought one of his crew was informing to me. He was making a point. In front of children. I didn't invite him here. He came uninvited and I handled it. Now he's gone, and he won't be back." "How can you be sure?" "Because if he comes back, I'll kill him." Vincent said it so matter-of-factly, like he was discussing the weather. "And he knows that." Meredith stood, still holding Lily. This was a mistake. "We can't stay here, it's not safe. You're safer here than anywhere else. We just watched a man get executed. And if you were still on the streets, you might have been that man." Vincent stepped closer, his voice dropping. "The world is violent, Meredith, cruel. At least here you have walls, guns, and people trained to protect you. Out there you have nothing. We have each other. Is that enough? Was it enough when Lily couldn't breathe? When you hadn't eaten in 2 days? When Derek was hunting you?" He was right in front of her now, and she could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the weight of 1,000 violent decisions. "I know what I am. I know what my world looks like, but I can keep you alive in it. Can you say the same out there?" Meredith wanted to argue, to rage, to grab Lily and run, but Lily was already asleep against her shoulder, exhausted from fear and adrenaline, and somewhere in this mansion Sophia was probably crying herself sick, another piece of her innocence stolen by her father's world. "1 month, Meredith said, her voice shaking. "You said 1 month. We're staying that long because I gave you my word. But after that, if anything like this happens again, we're gone. I don't care what you say or what you promise, we're gone." Vincent studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "Fair enough." He turned to leave, then paused. "For what it's worth, I'm sorry they saw that. I'm sorry Sophia has seen too many things like that. I'm trying to build something better for her, but the past keeps catching up." "Then maybe," Meredith said quietly, "you should consider leaving this life, for her sake." Vincent's laugh was bitter, hollow. "You don't leave this life, Meredith. You die in it, or it dies with you. There is no walking away." Then he was gone, leaving Meredith alone in the reinforced room with her sleeping daughter, and the horrifying realization that she'd brought Lily into a world that might be even more dangerous than the one they'd left behind. But at least here, they had food, shelter, protection. Was that enough? Meredith didn't know anymore. All she knew was that the line between safety and danger had never been thinner, and she'd just crossed it without even realizing. 3 weeks had passed since the shooting. 3 weeks of uneasy peace, of watching Vincent disappear for days at a time, of catching Eleanor's worried glances when she thought no one was looking. 3 weeks of Meredith lying awake at night, listening for gunfire that never came but feeling like it could at any moment. The girls had recovered better than the adults. Children were resilient that way, able to compartmentalize trauma and return to laughter. Sophia never mentioned what she'd seen, and Lily seemed to have forgotten it entirely, lost in the joy of having a friend, toys, and 3 meals a day. But Meredith couldn't forget. Every time a car approached the estate, her heart raced. Every time Vincent came home with new bruises or cuts, she wondered what fresh hell he'd walked through. And every night, when she checked on Lily sleeping peacefully in her princess bed, Meredith questioned whether comfort was worth the constant fear. It was a Tuesday afternoon when everything changed. Meredith was in the kitchen with Maria, the cook, a warm Italian woman in her 60s who'd taken it upon herself to teach Meredith how to make proper pasta. The girls were in the garden with Eleanor, and the house felt almost normal, almost peaceful. Then Vincent came home. Meredith heard the front door slam, not close slam, followed by rapid footsteps and Vincent's voice sharp with anger, speaking rapid Italian to someone on his phone. She exchanged a glance with Maria, who'd gone very still, her hands frozen in the dough she'd been kneading. "Maybe you should check on the girls," Maria said quietly. "Make sure they stay outside for a while." Meredith nodded, wiping flour from her hands, but before she could leave, Vincent appeared in the kitchen doorway. He looked like hell. His suit jacket was missing, his shirt was untucked and stained with what might have been blood, and there was a wild energy in his eyes that she'd never seen before. Not anger, something worse. Fear. "Where's Sophia?" he demanded. "In the garden with Eleanor and Lily. Vincent, what's wrong?" He ignored her, already moving toward the back of the house. Meredith followed, her own fear rising. She'd never seen him like this. Uncontrolled, almost frantic. They found the girls playing near the fountain, Eleanor watching them with her usual vigilance. The moment Eleanor saw Vincent's expression, she stood immediately, understanding passing between them without words. "Sophia, come here," Vincent called. Sophia looked up, her smile fading when she saw her father's face. She ran to him immediately and he swept her up in his arms, holding her so tight the little girl gasped. "Papa, you're squishing me." "Sorry, baby, sorry." He loosened his grip, but didn't put her down, his face buried in her hair for a moment. When he looked up, his eyes found Meredith's. "We need to talk, now. Eleanor, take the girls inside. Keep them in the playroom." "Vincent," Eleanor started. "Now, Eleanor." The older woman flinched at his tone but obeyed, gathering both girls despite their protests and herding them toward the house. Lily reached for Meredith, confused and frightened by the sudden tension. "It's okay, baby," Meredith called after her. "Go with Miss Eleanor. I'll be there soon." Once they were alone, Vincent paced the garden like a caged animal, running his hands through his hair, his breathing harsh. "Vincent, you're scaring me," Meredith said. "What happened?" "Antonio Russo is dead." The name meant nothing to Meredith. "Who?" "He was one of my captains. He ran the waterfront operations. Someone put 3 bullets in his head this morning and left him in front of his daughter's school." Vincent's voice cracked slightly. His 9-year-old daughter found him. Meredith felt sick. "Oh my God. It's a message. To me. They're coming after families now, children." He stopped pacing, facing her directly. "Tony Calabrese wasn't the threat. He was just testing my defenses. The real enemy has been waiting, watching, planning, and now they're moving." "Who? Who's doing this?" "The Giordano family from Philadelphia. They want my territory, and they're willing to burn everything to get it." Vincent's hands clenched into fists. "Antonio's daughter is 9, Meredith. 9 years old, and she had to see her father's body dumped like garbage. That's the world I live in. That's what they do to send messages." Meredith wrapped her arms around herself, cold despite the warm afternoon. "What does this mean for us?" "It means I was wrong." Vincent looked at her with something like agony in his eyes. "I thought I could keep you safe here. I thought the walls and the guns and the security would be enough. But if they're willing to go after children to get to me, then Sophia is a target. And you and Lily." He stopped, his jaw working. "Being here makes you targets too. By association. So what do we do?" "I'm sending Sophia away. Tonight. Eleanor has a sister in Montana. Middle of nowhere. Far from this world. Sophia will go there with Eleanor until this is resolved." "And us?" Vincent was quiet for a long moment. "You should go too. Different location, different state. I'll set you up with money. New identities if necessary. Somewhere Derek can't find you. Somewhere my enemies don't know about. You'll be safe." Meredith should have felt relief. This was her out. The escape she'd been half wanting since the shooting. But instead she felt something else. Something complicated. What about you? I stay. I fight. I end this before it gets worse. His voice was hollow, resigned. It's what I do. And if you lose, then Sophia grows up without a father, but at least she grows up. He turned away, looking at the mansion, his fortress, his prison. I should never have brought you here. It was selfish. I wanted Sophia to have something normal, and I put you all in danger for it. Vincent, you need to start packing. I'll have Marco make arrangements. You'll leave after dark, separate cars, separate routes. No one will know where you're going, not even me. He started walking back toward the house, and something inside Meredith snapped. She ran after him, grabbing his arm, forcing him to stop. Wait, just wait a damn minute. He turned, surprised by her vehemence. You don't get to do this, Meredith said, her voice shaking with emotion she couldn't quite name. You don't get to make decisions for me without even asking what I want. What you want doesn't matter if you're dead. Then let that be my choice. She was shouting now, weeks of fear and frustration pouring out. I'm not some fragile thing you moved around like a chess piece. I'm a person, and I get a say in what happens to my daughter and me. The say is leave or die, Meredith. Those are your options. Then maybe I choose to stay. The words hung in the air between them. Vincent stared at her like she'd lost her mind. You don't know what you're saying. Don't I? Meredith stepped closer. For 3 weeks, I've watched you carry the weight of this world on your shoulders. I've seen you come home bloody and exhausted, and the next morning you're making pancakes for Sophia like nothing happened. I've seen you try to be both a monster and a father, and it's killing you. This isn't about me. Yes, it is. It's about all of us. She was crying now, angry tears that she didn't bother wiping away. You brought us here because Sophia needed something real. Someone who didn't see her as a mob boss's daughter. Well, guess what? She has that now. Lily loves her. She waits by the door every morning for Sophia to wake up. They're sisters in everything but blood. And you want to rip that away? You want to send Sophia to Montana where she'll be safe but alone? Where she'll know her father chose war over her again? I'm choosing her life over my pride. You're choosing guilt over hope. Meredith grabbed his shirt, forcing him to look at her. That little girl doesn't need another safe house. She needs her father, and maybe her father needs help carrying all this weight. Vincent's expression crumbled. For the first time since she'd met him, Meredith saw him break. Really break. The mask fell away, and underneath was just a man. Exhausted, terrified, desperate. I don't know how to protect her, he whispered. I don't know how to protect any of you. Then stop trying to do it alone. You don't understand what you're asking. If you stay, you're in this world completely. There's no halfway, no safety net, just survival day by day, never knowing if today is the day everything falls apart. I've been surviving for months, Vincent, on streets and shelters, running from Derek. At least here, I'm not doing it alone. She loosened her grip on his shirt, her voice softening. At least here, Lily has a friend. And Sophia has people who care about her, not because they work for you, but because she's just a sweet little girl who deserves better than this life gave her. Vincent closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, they were wet. If something happens to you because of me, then it happens. But it won't be because I was too afraid to fight for something worth protecting. Meredith took a breath. 1 month, you said. We're 3 weeks in. Give me the last week. Let me prove that maybe, just maybe, there's another way. What other way? You think love and hope are going to stop the Giordano family? No, but maybe they'll give you something worth fighting for beyond just revenge and territory. The sound of children's laughter drifted from the house. Lily and Sophia playing despite everything, finding joy in a world built on violence. Vincent's eyes tracked toward the sound, something like longing crossing his face. If I let you stay, he said slowly, you do exactly what I say. Security protocols, safe rooms, everything. No arguments. Agreed. And if at any point I think the danger is too great, you take Lily and you run. No looking back, no heroic stands, you just go. Fine. I mean it, Meredith. You can't save me. You can only survive me. She stepped back, meeting his eyes with a determination she hadn't felt in years. Then let's focus on making sure we all survive. Vincent studied her for a long moment, and something shifted in his expression. Respect, maybe, or recognition that she was more than he'd given her credit for. You're insane, he said finally. Probably, but so are you for bringing us here in the first place. She managed a weak smile. Might as well be insane together. A ghost of a smile touched his lips, the first genuine one she'd seen in weeks. Eleanor is going to kill me for this. Eleanor will understand. No, she won't. but she'll follow orders anyway. He sighed heavily, running a hand over his face. All right, 1 more week, but we do this my way. Starting tonight, new security measures. No one comes in or out without my approval. The girls stay inside unless I clear it personally. And you, he pointed at her, you learn to shoot. What? If you're staying in this world, you need to know how to protect yourself and Lily. Tomorrow morning I'm teaching you how to use a gun. Meredith had never held a gun in her life. The thought terrified her, but she nodded anyway. Okay. And Meredith? Vincent's voice stopped her as she started toward the house. Thank you. For what? For being crazy enough to believe this might work? She smiled sadly. Someone has to. As she walked back into the mansion, back to where Lily and Sophia were waiting, Meredith realized she'd just made the second biggest decision of her life. The first had been shaking Vincent Moretti's hand 3 weeks ago. This time, she'd chosen to stay in the fire instead of running from it. And somewhere deep inside, despite the fear and the danger and the absolute insanity of it all, she felt something she hadn't felt in a very long time. Purpose. She just hoped that purpose wouldn't get them all killed. The shooting range in the mansion's basement was something Meredith never expected to find. The room was soundproofed, climate-controlled, and lined with targets at varying distances. It looked professional, the kind of place where serious people practiced serious violence. At 6 in the morning, with the rest of the house still sleeping, Vincent stood beside her, methodically explaining the basics of the Glock 19 he'd placed in her trembling hands. It's heavier than I thought, Meredith said, her voice barely above a whisper. 900 grams loaded, you'll get used to it. Vincent moved behind her, adjusting her stance, his hands firm but not rough as he positioned her shoulders. Feet shoulder-width apart. Lean slightly forward. The recoil will push you back, so you need to be grounded. Meredith could feel his breath on her neck as he spoke, could smell his cologne mixed with coffee. It was intimate in a way that had nothing to do with romance and everything to do with trust. He was teaching her how to take a life if necessary. I don't know if I can do this, she admitted. You can. You will. Because if someone comes for Lily, you won't have time to think, you'll only have time to act. His voice was steady, patient. Line up the sights. Both eyes open. Breathe normally. When you're ready, squeeze. Don't pull. The trigger. Slow and steady. Meredith focused on the target 20 feet away, a simple paper silhouette of a human form. Her hands shook as she aimed. She squeezed. The gunshot was deafening even with ear protection. The recoil jerked her arms up and the bullet went wide, hitting the wall behind the target. She gasped, almost dropping the weapon. Again, Vincent said calmly. You flinched. Don't anticipate the shot. Let it surprise you. They practiced for an hour. By the end, Meredith's arms ached. Her ears rang despite the protection, and she'd managed to hit the target 4 times out of 20 shots. It wasn't good, but it was something. That's enough for today, Vincent said, taking the gun and clearing it with practiced efficiency. Tomorrow we'll work on speed. But you did well for your first time. I missed 16 shots, but you took 20. That's what matters. Most people freeze when they hold a gun for the first time. You didn't. He locked the weapon in a safe built into the wall. You're stronger than you think, Meredith. She wanted to believe him. But as they climbed the stairs back to the main house, all she could think about was the weight of that gun and what it represented. The absolute certainty that violence was no longer a possibility in her life. It was an inevitability. Eleanor was waiting for them in the kitchen, her expression tight with disapproval. The girls are asking for you both. Sophia wants her father to have breakfast with her for once, and Lily won't eat until Meredith is there. Tell them I'll be there in 5 minutes, Vincent said, heading toward his office. I need to make some calls. Vincent, Eleanor's voice stopped him. When was the last time you actually sat with your daughter? Not checking your phone, not distracted by business, just sat with her? Vincent's jaw tightened. Eleanor, she's 4 years old and she's learned not to ask for your attention because she knows she won't get it. Is that really the lesson you want to teach her? The silence that followed was painful. Vincent looked like he'd been slapped. Meredith saw something crack in his expression. Guilt, shame, and a bone-deep exhaustion that went beyond physical tiredness. You're right, he said quietly. The calls can wait. Eleanor's expression softened. Good. Maria made your favorite, chocolate chip pancakes. They found the girls in the breakfast room, a sun-filled space with windows overlooking the garden. Lily and Sophia were drawing together, their heads bent close over sheets of paper, giggling about something only they understood. Papa! Sophia jumped up when she saw Vincent running to him with open arms. He caught her, lifting her high. and for a moment the dangerous mob boss disappeared entirely. He was just a father, holding his daughter, breathing her in like she was oxygen. "Good morning, princess. What are you drawing?" "It's a picture of all of us. See? That's you, and that's me, and that's Miss Eleanor, and that's Lily and Miss Meredith. We're all holding hands." Vincent studied the crayon drawing. Stick figures in a garden, sun shining overhead, flowers everywhere. It was innocent, beautiful, everything his life wasn't. "It's perfect," he said, his voice rough. "Can I keep it? Really? You want to keep my drawing?" Sophia's face lit up like Christmas morning. "I want to put it in my office so I can see it every day." Sophia threw her arms around his neck, squeezing tight. Over her head, Vincent's eyes met Meredith's, and the gratitude there was unmistakable. Breakfast was surprisingly normal. Vincent sat at the head of the table, Sophia on his right, and listened to her chatter about everything and nothing. The butterfly she'd seen yesterday, the song Eleanor had taught her on the piano, how Lily could count to 100 now. He was present in a way Meredith suspected he rarely allowed himself to be. Lily was quieter than usual, though, pushing her pancakes around her plate. Meredith touched her daughter's arm gently. "What's wrong, baby?" Lily looked up with those big blue eyes that always saw too much. "Are we leaving soon?" The question hung in the air. Sophia's chattering stopped immediately, her attention snapping to Lily with alarm. "What? No, you can't leave, you just got here." Sophia looked at her father, panic rising. "Papa, they're not leaving, right? Tell them they can't leave." Vincent set down his coffee cup carefully. "Nobody's leaving, Sophia. Lily and Meredith are staying with us. Promise?" "I promise." But Lily wasn't satisfied. She'd lived through too many broken promises, too many places that were supposed to be home but weren't. But what if something bad happens again? What if those men come back? Meredith started to deflect, to offer some comforting lie. But Vincent spoke first. "Then I'll protect you. All of you. That's my job. To keep the people I care about safe." "Even us?" Lily asked, her voice small. "Even though we're not your family?" The question clearly caught Vincent off guard. He glanced at Meredith, then back at Lily. And when he spoke, his voice was gentle in a way she'd never heard before. "You're in my home. You're important to Sophia. That makes you my responsibility. And I take my responsibilities very seriously." "Papa is the strongest person in the whole world," Sophia declared with absolute certainty. "Nothing bad can happen when he's around." The faith in her voice was heartbreaking. Vincent visibly struggled with it. That innocent trust from his daughter who didn't know, couldn't know, all the ways he'd failed before, all the people he hadn't been able to protect. "I'm not invincible, Sophia," he said carefully, "but I'll always try my hardest." After breakfast, Eleanor took the girls to their lessons, leaving Meredith and Vincent alone in the now quiet breakfast room. He stood at the window, staring out at the grounds, his shoulders tight with tension. "You can't promise them safety," Meredith said softly. "Not in this world. I know, but what else can I say? The truth? That every day might be our last? That powerful men are planning ways to hurt us right now?" He turned to face her. "They're children. They deserve better than fear. Then give them better. Not promises you might not be able to keep, but moments. Like this morning. That's what they'll remember. Not the danger, not the fear, but the times you were present." Vincent studied her with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. "How did you stay so strong? When you had nothing? When you were alone with Lily on the streets? How did you not break?" "Who says I didn't?" Meredith moved to stand beside him at the window. "I broke every single day. Every time Lily asked when we'd have a home again. Every time I had to tell her we couldn't eat because there was no food. Every time Derek's shadow seemed to be around a corner. I broke constantly. But you kept going. Because what choice did I have? She needed me. That's what being a parent is. Breaking and still showing up anyway." They stood in silence for a moment, watching the grounds where security personnel made their regular patrols. Two worlds existed here, the beautiful facade of gardens and fountains, and the armed reality of what it took to maintain that beauty. Vincent's phone buzzed. He checked it, and his expression darkened immediately. "What is it?" "Marco just confirmed it. The Giordano family is making their move. They've allied with 3 other families. They're coming for me with everything they have." He pocketed the phone. "It starts tonight." Meredith's blood ran cold. "What starts?" "War." Vincent said it simply, like he was announcing dinner plans. "They're attacking my warehouse at the port at midnight. It's a diversion. They want to draw my forces away from the estate. Then don't go. Let them have the warehouse. It's not about the warehouse. It's about looking weak. If I don't defend my territory, every other family will see it as permission to carve off pieces until there's nothing left. He turned to her fully. I have to go, but I'm leaving 12 men here, doubling the security system. You, Eleanor, and the girls will be in the safe room by 11. You won't come out until I personally come get you. And if you don't come back? Vincent reached into his pocket and pulled out a set of keys and a card. These are for a car in the garage. Black sedan, 3rd bay. The card has access to an offshore account under a false name. If I don't come back by dawn, you take the girls, you drive to the address Eleanor has, and you disappear. Live quietly. Keep them safe. Vincent, promise me, Meredith. If I don't survive tonight, promise me you'll take care of Sophia like she's your own. Meredith felt tears burning her eyes. This man, this violent, dangerous man, was entrusting her with his daughter, his most precious thing. I promise, but you're coming back. You can't know that. Yes, I can. Because you're not done yet. Sophia still needs you and... She hesitated, then pushed forward. And I think you're finally figuring out how to be the father she deserves. You can't stop now. Something shifted in Vincent's expression. He reached out almost hesitantly and tucked a strand of hair behind Meredith's ear. The gesture was so gentle, so unexpected, that she froze. When this is over, he said quietly, when the Giordano family is dealt with and things are stable again, would you want to stay? Not as a temporary arrangement, but permanently? Why? Because in 3 weeks you've given Sophia more stability than she's had in her entire life. Because Lily looks at you like you hung the moon and Sophia looks at her like a sister. Because... He stopped, struggling with words. Because when I think about the future now, I see all 4 of us in it. And that terrifies me because I've never wanted to protect anything as much as I want to protect this. Meredith's breath caught. Was he saying what she thought he was saying? Vincent, The sound of rapid footsteps interrupted them. Marco burst into the room, his face pale. Boss, we have a problem. They moved up the timeline. They're not waiting until midnight. What? They're hitting us now. Multiple locations simultaneously. The warehouse, 2 of our social clubs and... Marco's voice dropped. They just breached the front gate. The world seemed to slow down. Vincent's expression went from shock to cold fury in an instant. He grabbed Meredith's arm. Get the girls. Safe room. Now. Marco, lock down the house. Nobody gets in or out. Alarms started blaring throughout the mansion. Meredith ran toward the sound of children's voices, her heart hammering. She found Eleanor already herding the girls toward Sophia's room, toward the hidden safe room entrance. Come on, quickly, Eleanor urged. But Sophia had stopped, looking back toward where her father had been. Papa. Where's Papa? Vincent appeared then, automatic rifle in his hands, surrounded by his security team. He looked every inch the warrior. Dangerous, lethal, focused. But when he saw Sophia's frightened face, he knelt down, setting the weapon aside for just a moment. I have to go keep us safe, Princess, but I'll come back, I promise. You can't promise that. Sophia was crying now. You said you can't promise. Vincent pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. You're right. I can't promise nothing bad will happen, but I can promise I'll fight with everything I have to get back to you. Because you're my whole world, Sophia, you and... His eyes found Meredith over Sophia's head, and the people I care about. Gunfire erupted outside. Close. Too close. Go, Vincent commanded, pushing Sophia toward Eleanor. He looked at Meredith one last time, and in that look was everything unsaid. Fear, determination, and something that looked almost like love. Then he was gone, disappearing into the chaos with his men, and Meredith was running with the girls down the hidden stairs into the reinforced room that suddenly felt less like safety and more like a tomb. Eleanor sealed the door, and the sounds of battle became muffled but still audible. Gunshots, shouting, breaking glass. Lily and Sophia clung to each other, crying. Eleanor prayed quietly, and Meredith stood at the monitors watching Vincent and his men defend the mansion against what looked like an army. She'd made her choice to stay, to fight for this strange, broken family they were building. Now all she could do was pray that choice didn't get them all killed, and that the man who'd saved her from a laundromat floor would survive to see the morning. Because despite everything, the violence, the danger, the absolute insanity of it all, Meredith realized something that terrified her more than any gun. She was starting to care about Vincent Moretti. And in his world, caring about someone was the most dangerous thing you could do.